All right, I think I'm live. You never really know with this Facebook stuff. It's a bit temperamental, but I think we're good to go. So, little live for you today on the topic of boredom. Boredom is a funny one. It's something that we've all felt, but I think it's particularly hard to describe because the characteristics of boredom differ person to person. For some, it's an empty feeling. For others, it's a frustrated feeling. For others, it might be general apathy or fatigue. Some people get nervous and jittery. It really does vary person to person. But I want to challenge your thoughts around what boredom really is and what it actually means. So at the end of the day, what if boredom wasn't a bad thing? What if boredom was merely a feeling? And as you already know, a feeling is neither good or bad. It's merely chemical feedback in the body. It's energy moving around the body so it can connect what the mind is experiencing with the body. It's a bridging of the gap between the mind and the body. Mind thinks, body feels. Feelings only become good or bad based on our perception and our subsequent labeling of them. So a feeling is just a feeling. It means nothing until we assign it meaning and we put a big old label on it because we have the need to try and understand everything. It's human nature to want to understand and to make things logical and to apply reason and logic. But feelings and human nature is completely illogical, so it's pointless. But feelings of boredom, just like any other feeling, are the result of an experience, so a situation you found yourself in. So rather than trying to look at the feeling and apply logic and reason to the feeling, because we already know we can't, it's a pointless endeavor because feelings don't work with logic. Instead, we can direct our focus to the situation to try and find some clarity. So we move away from the feeling, we experience it, we just let the feeling be and we leave it alone. But instead we look at the situation, the causes of it. If you're bored, it's because you're not engaged with whatever it is you're undertaking, which can mean, depending on the context, you're either really good at it and doing it no longer stimulates or challenges you, or you're not doing enough and need some form of activity. It means you're essentially restless and you're not able to satisfy this desire for doing. Human nature is to do. Many of us want to do, and we also have this social perception that we should always be doing as well, which only serves to amplify the issue with boredom. We don't always have to be doing, even though we want to. But that's a story for another time. But anyway, boredom itself is not a problem. For many people, boredom is actually a luxury because you're either getting really good at something and you're making progress to the point where it's becoming automatic and you're no longer having to think about it or be challenged by it, or you've got loads of free time, both of which are incredible things to have. So you're reframing the boredom and realizing that it's not a problem, it's an indicator of something more. How you respond to that indication is up to you. If you're getting bored while doing something, then maybe stick it out. Perhaps you're close to achieving mastery, and then you can level up. I remember I used to hit loads and loads of golf balls, and it used to become boring, and it became boring because I was getting good at it. And once you get good at it, you start doing something harder. You challenge yourself, you push up and up. It's how we get better at things. There is always an element of boredom involved in growth. Whenever you start doing something, it's challenging, it's difficult, it stimulates you, and it's far from boring, even if it's difficult. But when you get good at it, it becomes boring. That's the way it goes. It's a good thing. If you're finding yourself bored when you're doing nothing, then you've got a couple of options. You can either enjoy the space and be grateful for that time you have, or you can use the time to go and do something of your choice. There's nothing wrong with being bored. It doesn't make you lazy. It's not a character flaw. It's just a sign. The problem comes when we ignore the sign. If you embrace your boredom and you consider where it's come from, then you can act accordingly. If it's come from that place of doing and getting good, continue. If it's come from a place of not doing, and you feel like you need to do, go do it. Or do the opposite and enjoy the time and the space and just shift your perspective around it. But if you decide to go do something, we also need to remember that the action should be something beneficial. When we go and seek an external stimulus, such as social media or something like that, it's not necessarily the answer, because that is not encouraging our growth. It's actually hampering it. Okay, we want to find something that allows for an expression of our creativity, something that encourages the growth, rather than something more passive that creates a sedated state. But we also don't want to go to the other end of the spectrum, which is doing something risky or dangerous, which a lot of people do when they get bored. They panic about feeling bored and they become impulsive and they do something risky, which is the opposite end of the spectrum. We don't want to sedate and we don't want to get silly and dangerous. We want something in the middle. Either ends of a spectrum is never a good sign. We always want to be somewhere in the middle, something balanced. Think of something that makes you feel joyful and productive, rather than something that is adrenaline inducing or sedating. So next time you get bored, consider the context of the boredom and then act accordingly. Drop me a comment and let me know your thoughts on this, because I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about boredom. So drop a comment, let me know what you think. I'll be back on Saturday for the quote of the day. So I'll see you all then. Have a great day.